This episode is brought to you by Dave. When you need money in a pinch, Dave can help. It's a banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly. No interest, late fees, or credit check. Join the millions already using Dave to get financial relief and sign up for an extra cash account to get up to $500 instantly. Go to dave.com/Spotify or download the Dave app now. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
With us today is Dr. William Parker, a longtime Navy man and president of the East-West Institute that always seeks peace and knows about what the heck is happening in the world. Bill Parker, what the heck is going on?
Well, John, great to be back on the show with you and Rita again. First of all, when you made that comparison, I think JFK, who was a Purple Heart recipient and commanded a PT boat during World War II, Johnson, who was a Silver Star recipient as his vice president, and Dean Rusk, who's a former colonel in the U.S. Army. Today you have Biden, Harris, Blinken, 0 days in the U.S. military. So it's a little bit different there. But more importantly, we have a difference because today we're dealing with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, and you got Saudi Arabia and others building alliances with the Russians and the Chinese. It's concerning.
And Judge Weinberg, you got a question for Bill Parker.
Dr. Parker, I want to raise with you an issue that concerns me, which is that the Chinese ambassador to France made an announcement that as far as they were concerned, that those countries that left the Soviet Union were now not legitimate countries, and that the Soviet Union or Russia could look at them again because it's not legitimate independent countries. What do you think about that?
Judge, as we started to talk about last time I was on with you, the reality is they're looking at this is their opportunity. This is Russia and China's opportunity of how far can they push this? Can they disenfranchise the agreements that have been made over the years? And are we going to see the former Soviet Union rebuild, which is what Putin's wanted all along? China would love that as well as they build their alliance. And don't forget India, who is buying cheap oil and buying a lot of weapons right now from Russia.
Tony Carbonetti?
Yeah, well, Bill, how are you? We've always heard that Putin's great dream is to rebuild the Soviet Union, be the one that puts it all back together and go down in history as the great Russian leader. What are we hearing, though, about his health? Because I know several months ago, as the Ukrainian war was turning for the worse, they were saying, oh, he's getting, there's something a little wrong there. Maybe he's on his way out. And now you hear nothing about it. Are you hearing anything?
Yeah, I'm hearing more about mental health than I am about physical health. But when you look at him, he looks bloated. He looks like he's exhausted, and he probably is. I believe he's probably very concerned about potential coup within his country. So I think there's both physical and mental health issues that are going on there and looking at. And I am hearing some rumors that he is struggling.
And everybody, we're talking to Bill Parker. He's the CEO of Parker Maritime Technologies, a retired senior U.S. naval officer, commanded 3 warships. Dr. Parker, I got to ask the question, what does this mean for America?
Well, what I think it means for America is we need to get our act together. I mean, we need to look at the fact that the top 5 people in the U.S. government right now have 0 military experience, and there are no advisors around them, to include the fact that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs is also no military experience, which is a new thing. So I think we need to take a good hard look at that. I think we need to look at our security. I also think we need to look at our borders to lock those down, because you have lots of Chinese rolling into the United States right now. And I think we need to look at our ballistic missile defense capabilities very carefully, as likely you're going to have Yars missiles moving into the hemisphere soon.
And Borough President Vito Fossella.
Hey, Bill. What if this is just a bluff? I mean, granted, we always have to prepare for the worst. But is this a game that Russia may be playing? And if it's not a game, what should we be observing, and what steps will they be taking if they're serious about deploying nuclear arsenal in the Western Hemisphere?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that it's a very dangerous game, first of all. Second of all, I don't think we should learn the wrong lessons from the Cuban Missile Crisis. Just because it worked out for everyone last time, and I mean everyone, the Russians and the Americans, doesn't mean it will this time. And so I think we need to look at this very seriously. When you look at the kilotonnage of weapons that are deployed, when you look at Hiroshima, it was 1/10. The weapon that we dropped on Hiroshima was 1/10 that of what they're putting on Yars missiles today, and they're MIRVed, which means you can put 3 of those weapons anywhere in the United States, from Venezuela, from anywhere in the Western Hemisphere.
You know, I want to switch a little gears, if I can, Dr. Parker, and talk about Sudan, because that's also in the headlines these days. There are now thousands. They think there's about 16,000 Americans that are sort of stranded in Sudan. Is it going to be like Afghanistan again?
16 to 17,000 Americans there, and we go in and snatch up 600-700 folks and pull them out from the embassy. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a great start. But the reality is, you need those embassy people to execute a non-combatant evacuation order. And now that they're gone, it makes that more complicated as well. So the communications drop significantly. The other part is, if you start communicating ahead of time that you're not going to put military in there, that's an issue.
Yeah, you're right. It's just like Afghanistan. I mean, what a disaster. Real quick, Judge Weinberg, you got a question there?
Well, I'm not an armchair general, but it seems to me we have to get our military in there to protect those 16 to 17,000 Americans.
I think we need to get our military in and get those people out. I would have done it a couple weeks ago when the rumblings were started. I would have rolled them out then. Now what you're talking about, air bridge and land bridge, it gets a lot more complicated and a lot more dangerous. So there's a lot of work to be done there. I'm sure there's a lot of people at the Pentagon and elsewhere that are working this, but I think timing is important, just like Afghanistan. Pulling out at the wrong time and in the wrong order matters, and I think we might be doing it again.
Wow, how sad is that?
Well, then you'll have Admiral Kirby go out in the White House steps and say, what a wonderful job they did.
Yeah, exactly. What a success as they're clinging onto the planes. How sad.
16 or 17,000 Americans in that small country.
In that small country. And it just kind of happened. It's been erupting. And they got out the diplomats, but everybody else is trying to get out.
That is the country where back in the 1990s, they killed, 500,000 people?
Yes, big time
and I
strife.
remember the pain that Bill Clinton had in his face and his heart because they outsmarted us at that time, and
they're doing it
can't have it happen again. Yeah, and you would think he would have learned, our president, this one, after Afghanistan, after the dismal, pathetic withdrawal. There's still Americans begging to get out there.
But this is not news, right? There should be a simulation, a plan in place weeks, if not months ago, as the doctor just said, that in the event that we have to evacuate the Americans, this is what we're going to do. Not pull everybody out of the embassy and say, hey, 16,000 Americans, you're on your own. It's
my
nuts.
God.
Yeah, and
they got the embassy guys out and they left 16,000 Americans.
And you know what they did? John Kirby, who is the spokesperson, National Security Council spokesperson, literally said at the White House last week, we don't know what we're going to do. We're only going to maybe get the diplomats. Basically, you are on your own, Americans. What a message that sends.
And this is the president who wants to announce for re-election?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
And we're supposed to say this is okay?
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, Dr. Parker, thank you very much for being with us. We really appreciate it. What's serious stuff?
Pray for America.
Yeah.
Bill Parker, pray for America. Thank you. Amen.